right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Five Blobs doing the theme song to The Blob by Burt Bacharach and Mac David. Now, that's an interesting... I know it's the theme to The Blob, but it has that kind of summer Caribbean island type of feeling. Whenever I hear that portion of the song, which I just played, I always picture myself like walking across a pool deck towards the bar and the oceans in the background as I walk, sort of a cinematic type of shot. And I kind of like that. So welcome. It is June 30th. Last day of June. Tomorrow is July 1st. July 1st. Also Canada Day tomorrow. For those in America, July 4th is on Wednesday, which is kind of sucky because what sucks about that is those of us who have to work. Because you go in Monday and Tuesday, you're off Wednesday, you go on Thursday, Friday. So there's no reason to have a long weekend unless you have the vacation time, as most of my people at my work are doing. There's like going to be like 5 people out the next 2 days. But the best time for a holiday like this, because 4th of July is always going to be on the 4th of July, but it's not always going to be on a specific day, whereas Labor Day is always going to be on a Monday. Memorial Day is always going to be on a Monday. You know, Easter is always on a Sunday. It just matters. It just depends on when in the year it is for those. This is July 4th. So you're stuck with having to go with the flow where it goes to. A good example is next year might be a better idea to go for companies throwing a 4-day weekend, because July 4th will be on a Thursday. So you work Monday through Wednesday. You have off Thursday. So why come in on Friday, turn on air conditioning, power, stuff like that, work for 8 hours, and then shut down for 2 more days? It just doesn't make sense fiscally. Same thing with, well, Monday, I guess you would do it anyway as a 3-day weekend anyway, and then Tuesday, same thing could happen there. Why come in for 1 day and shut down and then go in the next couple of days? That's not as... When it falls on Thursday, it's a better shot because you're at the tail end of at the beginning of the weekend, whereas the end, you could probably go, well, we got 3-4 days coming up right after it, so why not? So we'll see what happens, but that's what's going on. How the hell are y'all today? I had 2 viewers there for 1 second. Now I got 1. I'm assuming this is my friend Patrick. Hello, Patrick. If it's not Patrick, hello, whoever you are, but I think it is Patrick. Got a chock full of summer fun episode today, even though I despise summer. I did an episode last year about why I despise summer. And just to reiterate why I despise summer, today's an absolutely perfect day because it is freaking hot as hell out there today. It is Patrick. Yay! What did you say, Patrick? I gotta get my Twitter back up. I just have my... Just set up mine. Yeah, that's right. That is right. Yours and Ambi's birthday are tomorrow. So happy birthday to you guys. I forgot about that. So thank you. So wish Patrick and Amber happy birthdays tomorrow. I'll thank you for reminding me. I'll do that tomorrow. It's 96 degrees here in Baltimore today. It's going to be 97, possibly 98 degrees tomorrow. It's going to be 96 degrees on Monday. It's going to be 93 on Tuesday. It's going to be 89 on 4th of July. Sort of stay around that 80s level for the rest of the week. And the next weekend is going to be like in the mid-80s. So, yes, Dylan, it's summer. Yes, I know, Dylan, it's summer. Yes, yes, it is summer. I hate this heat because here in the mid-Atlantic where I live, and I would assume probably down near where you live too, Patrick, you probably get a little bit more. You probably get a little bit worse because you're further south, so you get a lot more of the sun. We have high humidity, and that's what's really killing us. If we didn't have the high humidity and it was this temperature, it would still be a little uncomfortable, but it wouldn't be awful because the heat index wouldn't be like 110 degrees. It would be like 100 maybe. It would be a few degrees warmer than the actual temperature. But that's the reason why I hate the summers, because I can't stand the heat. Now everybody's like, well, you get freezing in the winter. Yes, but in the winter, you can put more clothes on, or jacket, or blanket, or wool stuff, whatever you want to keep yourself warm. Whereas the summer, you got to take off like all your clothes, and you can only do so much without getting any trouble with some anti-nudity people out there. So you can only do so much with that. So that's why, and it sucks the life out of me. And I just before I came on, I just all of a sudden got this awful headache, and I'm determined to believe that it has to do with the heat, because I had to work this morning in my hot warehouse, and then I was driving around out in the heat for a little while, and then I came back to the house where it's air conditioned. But once you get the first it's air conditioning, your body starts getting used to it, and then you're like, okay, it's a little uncomfortable. It still feels kind of warm. And then you step outside and you're like, oh God. And then you step back inside. Oh, it feels good. I cooked on the grill for dinner today. Noah has a friend over for a sleepover tonight. Noelle was at a sleepover last night, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But enough about that. I already went through why I hate summer ad nauseum. I'm not going to do it. July 30th. June 30th. July 1st is tomorrow. This year, again, has been awful, and hopefully it's going to start getting better soon. Hot weather alert. Okay, this is what Patrick just sent me. Please carry a bottle of water with you at all times. You can use it to beat yourself to death with when the heat becomes too much. To avoid flooded carriages, make sure to direct all your perspiration into the provided sweat gutters. There's a high possibility most passengers will smell like some prawns that were abandoned in an alleyway 6 months ago. That's off of the British Underground, the London Underground sign. That's hilarious. Thanks for sharing. And yay, happy early birthday to you too, Ambi. So Ambi might be listening in on as well. Or no, she probably saw the connection. Anyway, so enough about that. So July 1st. July is an interesting month for me. Usually I have to deal with the Naval Academy pants at my work, where we get the plebes Naval Academy pants. It's about 8,000 of them, and we have to cut and hem them. It takes the majority of our sewing department, well, actually only like a couple people of our sewing department, a whole month to do. We have one whole month to do 8,000 pairs of pants, cut and hem them, doing on average about 245 a day, which is kind of rough because some people are slower than others when it comes to certain things. Oh, okay. Scotty's watching Jurassic World, so they can check out Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Not a problem, Scott. That's all good. Dinosaurs are great. Jurassic Park is a wonderful summer movie. I was going to do like a bunch of summer movie things today, but I got a whole bunch of other stuff I'm going to talk about, so I'm not going to do that. So I'll probably do that sometime in July. I'll have lots of time to fill stuff out. I was also going to do my bucket list. I'm not going to do that either. So I'm going to put these off for another episode because I got a lot of stuff. So I got to stop talking. I got to get into the meat of what we're doing here. So this year I don't have to deal with that because my job switched. So I have one less pressure on me about that. So, but it sounds like they got it controlled. The guy whose job we switched jobs, basically that's all we did. I went to his job, he went to my job. I mean, I lost a little money, but it's a lot less stress for me. And granted, I still had to go in on Saturday, but still, that's just because I need to straighten up my area. Anyway. Doesn't matter. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we got a lot of stuff talking about. Those who watched my double episode last week, Patrick and Scott, who's not watching right now, and whoever else watched it during the replay, I started a new thing on Dylan Knows where I talk about what movies came out this week, and we'll discuss a little bit about them. There's quite a few, some good ones out there. We'll do my Incredibles 2 review. We saw that last weekend, last Sunday to be exact. So after I did my episode of Dylan Knows, we went out to see the movie. So we did. Actually, did I do it Saturday night? I did do it Saturday night, didn't I? Yeah. So that's Sunday. We went to the Incredibles 2 movie, and I'll do my review of that. Some interesting comic book stuff coming up, particularly July 4th is going to be a big day for a certain Cape Crusader, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Some movie trailers going to be talking about. Some science stuff. And the biggest couple things that we're going to discuss, I'm probably going to start on right away. We're talking about performing surgery in space, which is the name of this episode. I thought that was just a cool name for an episode, performing surgery in space. So we'll talk a little bit about what that's about. But the main things I'm going to talk about this week, besides Incredibles 2 review, is Harlan Ellison died. Now, for those who don't know who Harlan Ellison was, he was a science fiction writer, wrote probably one of the greatest episodes of Star Trek ever. He was also somebody I worked with for about 3 years when I was working at Diamond Comics as customer service rep. I'll talk about my Harlan Ellison stuff in a little bit. We'll talk about Toys R Us is now officially closed, which is a shame, sad, but in the new business mode of stuff, that's what happens. What the hell did I write here? Oh, yeah, I know what that is. And some other interesting things. What in the hell is that, too? Memories of ending and getting... What the hell did I write there? All right. Oh, Mexico. Okay, I got that. I know what that is now. Phew, my handwriting is awful. All right, so let's get into this now. This is kind of an interesting science thing. May as well start with science today. There's a, I don't know exactly where this is, but there's a turbine that has been built along this one nation's highway. And it's a wind turbine. And so when the cars are speeding by at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, that causes a wave, a wind, a friction thing, because you know it when you're driving that fast and you have your windows open, the wind is just going shooting right by you. Well, the wind that passing these turbines causes the turbines to spin and it creates energy. It's a windmill type of effect that is a interesting look at a possibility of a different fuel resource, or electrical resource, I should say. And it seems like a really ingenious idea. So kudos to whoever created that, and hopefully we can bring that more to life this year. And the other thing I had, and I think I saw this somewhere, but an idea I had is, why don't we ever do some solar panel roads so that the roads suck up the heat from the sun and the heat of the cars and trucks driving over it. It sucks up the heat from that and it traps it in there so that when you have ice and snow and rain and stuff like that, it releases the heat that way and it melts everything quickly without having to use harmful salt that could damage an ecosystem. Or there's other things you could probably use it for. Power lights, maybe, that are along the roadways. It seemed like an ingenious idea, but then you have to start thinking about the infrastructure aspect of it. Is how would you create a solar paneled road? And also, how would you take care of it? And you would have to make it a really strong because, those roads crack easily because of the weights of all the trucks and cars and that go over it. And also because of the heat. I mean, I'll give you a good example. This is the second time in 2 years there's a stretch of highway right behind my house called 795. It's fairly new, newer, considering it's been around about 30 some years, but it's newer in the aspect of the Maryland Transit Authority, whereas 695 and 95 have been around for a lot longer than that. 795 was fairly new in Owings Mills and Reisterstown. Reisterstown's always been here, but it was never really considered like a big town. And as more people expanded into Baltimore County, they created a town called Owings Mills, which is our neighbor. And so it connected Owings Mills and Reisterstown to 695, the 795 stretch of road. It's, as I said, it's fairly new when it comes to our thing here. The road has buckled twice in the last 2 years. And due to the heat and the traffic going northbound on 795 about 3 or 4 hours ago was at a standstill because roads had to be repaired, emergency repairs. So it's kind of scary when the road buckles. Like it looked like there was a freaking earthquake that caused cracks in the road. So it was just an idea that I had. I don't know if it would ever be, it would ever work, but Oh well. Oh yeah. I thought I did that one. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, it is revealed earlier. Yes, Patrick, my handwriting is terrible. Because what happens is my mind moves so fast when I'm writing that I try to want to get everything in before I forget about it. So I just do almost like squish scratch. It's not as bad as Dawn's, though, I'll tell you that much. But that's besides the point. Let's do some more science, shall we? Mars dust storm is now a whole planet dust storm. I did a story last week about the Pathfinder having to stop because it was trapped inside of this dust storm. And it took a selfie inside the storm. It was kind of creepy looking. Well, this isn't unusual when it comes to Mars. It has now become a fully formed whole planet dust storm. I mean, let's face it, there's no like cities that we know of that can block it or stop the dust storms or whatever. There's no trees that we know of or anything like that. And there's mountains, yeah, but it can just go around the mountains or it can just go over the mountains if you want, because it's just a dust storm. So the dust storm has, and this isn't the first time it's happened, the dust storm has covered the complete planet of Mars. So, you know, you just have to consider that. What would it be like if a dust storm covered the entirety of Earth? Now just think about that for a second and just realize how impressive this dust storm really is. And it was kind of mentioned sort of similar in The Martian, the book. There have been these sort of dust storms before. They didn't quite go into it as much detail as usual as they did in the movie, which is still wonderful, by the way. Still one of my faves. Ooh, that's not too bad. Blood Orange Kickstarter. Yeah, science is always great. You know, let's just continue with science here, shall we? I do have another one. Sea lice has invaded the waters off the Florida coast. I never knew there was such a thing as sea lice. And there have been people who have been posting pictures of all these little pot marks and stuff like that all over their bodies due to sea lice. It just sounds awful. So if you're going down to the Florida coast, just watch out for that sea lice. I mean, I don't know. I guess you have to put bug spray on now too. I don't know. Would that be considered a bug? I suppose so. Anything else I'm looking for real quick that's science related, so we can just sort of keep science all together. This is more of a weird story, maybe kind of sciencey oriented a little bit. A woman became pregnant in the mouth with baby squids after eating calamari. Now that's just disgusting. The fact that you're eating calamari, which is good, by the way, and then you all of a sudden you feel all this stuff moving, and there's all these little squids in your mouth because it just, I can't even fathom what that must be like. It's disgusting. And you'd think that, and this is another story, you'd think that this might be a Onion article, but it's not. Animals are becoming nocturnal to avoid human contact. I just think that's a great headline. And it makes sense because, you know, I don't want to deal with some asshole guy trying to run me over or throw water on me or whatever. They're not out at night, so I can go out and I can do whatever I want, you know? Cool. One last science thing. Talk about this name of this episode, performing surgery in space. Space.com posted an article about this saying we would probably eventually have to do some surgery in space. Now, we don't have, as of now, any gravity control whatever on our spaceships. The people who are up in the intergalactic space station, or not the intergalactic, International Space Station, they're constantly weightless because there is no, as far as I know, I could be, if I'm wrong, you can call me on it, but I don't think there is. There isn't any gravity controls where you can walk around like normal gravity and not be floating around. So keeping that in mind, when you get to the future, of space travel or whatever, particularly with Space Force, which I don't even want to talk about right now, you have to consider the fact that we might not have gravity control on board these spaceships. And if we start spending more time in space and someone needs to have an operation, emergency operation or surgery or whatever, I'm still trying to fathom how that worked. I mean, I suppose you could strap them down to something so that they don't float away. But when you're cutting into them and doing the surgery, the blood and the gore and stuff like that going to go. It's going to be floating all over, And there's going to have to be some way they can control the muck that comes out of a person when you have surgery, because you're going to get muck coming out of surgery regardless. So that's what the space.com article was about, was that it's going to be quite disgusting until they figure out a way for gravity control, because on hospitals, you've got gravity, you can control the flow of blood and so on like this. In outer space, you cut into something, blood's going to go, it's going to float around, and it's going to be disgusting. And then all the other bits and pieces, but at the same time, it's kind of cool. Got to take out appendix, it just flies out. You see, oh look, there's the appendix, and it blows up. It's like, man, that could have blown up in your stomach. You could have been dead. I think that's it for the science portion of this episode. That's a short one, but I always like to throw a little bit of science in there. What the hell, Dylan? Oh, there's one more. Science proves that dogs can recognize a bad person. So, if you're a bad person, and a dog, you know how when you see a dog, a lot of times if you want to go pet them, you got to put your hand down so they can smell you and get your scent, and they'll let you pet them. Apparently, dogs can realize if you are evil, so they might growl at you, or they might try to bite you, or they might get away from you. So next time you try to pet a strange dog and it growls at you, it might be because you're a bad person. I'm just saying. Never happened to me before. I don't know if it's true or not. They say it's true. I guess dogs have an innate sense of stuff. I mean, at the same time, they can smell cocaine. I mean, I guess. I mean, as far as I know, I've never done cocaine, so I couldn't tell you. But it doesn't have a smell to me. I mean, it seems like it's just powder, But marijuana obviously is easy to find because it's got a particular scent. But cocaine and crack and all that stuff, crack is cooked cocaine, so you really can't carry crack into like an airport or something like that. So it would be cocaine. So they have this highly stylized sense of smell. And at the same time, animals also have this innate sense when they know something bad's about to happen, earthquake, some sort of weather pattern or whatever, that could, they usually know when something's going to happen. So if you're watching your dog and your dog starts whining or hiding or something like that, something bad's going to be probably coming. And sure enough, not too long after that, there's an earthquake or something like that. So I've seen that in action before. Plus, the Ghost Hunters, back when Ghost Hunters had a show on Sci-Fi, they had a dog in the last couple seasons that could actually sense when there was a spirit possibly in a corner or watching them or whatever. Again, don't know how true that is, but it makes sense to me anyway. So we got that. Let's see. I guess this could be classified as a science article. So we got one more we can do as well. This is more of kind of a what the frig story, and I think I'll add another one to that. It's not really sciencey, but this one was early last week. So this just missed the cut for last week's episode because it happened after I finished the episode. I got this article. Man loses feeling in his legs and nearly dies due to colossal poop. And it was 2 liters of poop, which I guess is a lot. I guess, it's not like I'm not very good with measures. I mean, how many liters are in a gallon? 12? I don't know. But still, the fact that a man loses feeling in his legs and nearly dies to colossal poop. I think that, and I read the article, and I wish I would have written it down a little bit better. It had something to do with the pressure. I mean, he didn't want to go to the bathroom for some reason. I don't remember why. There was a reason why he didn't want to go to the bathroom. And it built, and it started squeezing other parts of the body, and that's what was causing, it was cutting off the circulation to one leg because it was expanding down here and where the poop is. And it was expanding in that, and that shit could literally kill you. Shit and kill is literally in that sentence. And so I guess eventually they got it out, but 2 liters of poop, man, this is in Australia. I mean, I guess you don't want to go to the bathroom in Australia. I'm not trying to be Australian racist, but they got all kinds of wild animals loose everywhere. Who knows who's in a toilet down there? It could be snakes and stuff jumping out at you. One of the coolest pictures I saw on Twitter is how badass Australia really is. It's on a beach in Australia. A wild dog was eating a shark that had washed up onto the beach while 2 snakes were engaged in a life or death struggle. It's a picture that has all that in one frame. It's hilarious. And look, I love Australia. And once again, it's on my bucket list, which I'm not going to talk about this week, but it's up there. I want to go to Australia sometime to see not just these, crazy animal things and the guy whose poop almost killed him, but it's a neat idea. My brother-in-law's been there a couple times. And I got, a couple acquaintances, as it were. This is you, Mike, Avant-Garde out there, Mike Garvey, who has his own podcast about Doom Patrol, which is a comic book that DC does, which is really cool. So, and he also plays Pokemon Go, so we're friends in that as well. So that's pretty neat as well. So there was that. So man loses feeling in his legs and nearly dies due to colossal poop, 2 liters of poop. And the other weird story I want to talk about was a dead body was discovered in a freezer at the Atlanta Braves baseball park. Now, it just, I don't know if, I guess, someone who works for the Atlanta Braves stadium killed somebody and placed their body in the freezer or what, I don't know, but still, that'd be kind of freaky, man. You're opening up the day, Braves are getting ready to play like a home game or something like that, so you're coming in early to get stuff started, you open up the door and a dead body's in there, or it falls out on you. That would freak the hell out of me, man. So, it's never happened here in Camden Yards, Baltimore. I'm just bitter because my team is lousy this year. We're on pace to have the worst year ever. We haven't won a game in forever. We're on a 7-game losing streak now? Yes. Not even our longest one. We've lost 9 straight at one time, too. Yes. That's another reason why I hate summer now, because the Orioles suck. I'm looking forward to the Ravens. Ravens football is going to be pretty good this year, I think. But that's for when MJ Khan and I discuss our football stuff. So there's that. Kind of interesting, I guess. That's a trailer. Okay, this is an interesting story. Now, when you read the article, you discover actually it's not exactly what you think it is. But again, they like to use the headline as clickbait because clickbait is great sometimes because you see a headline that's absolutely insane and you check. First thing you check to see if it's the Onion, and then you're like, okay, it's not the Onion. Let's either you check on the article and you read it and discover that it's kind of like the Onion, but not really. It's actually a real story, but it isn't, and that type of thing. But then you can also be that type of person who's like, oh, God, I got to share this right away. Boom, which I will admit I've done before without reading the article, and I've gotten called out on it before. And, hey, you know what? It happens. I'm a lot more choosy when it comes to that. That and also the dead celebrities. Someone finds a celebrity that people forgot died, and they repost the article as if it just happened, and then you see all the people saying, "Rip, oh my God, I missed him. That was great. He was part of my past," stuff like that. Whenever I see those, I get suspicious now because I've gotten burned on them a couple times. So I click on the article. This is what you do. You see a headline that looks a little hinky. It's like, okay, Don Knotts died. Oh, man, that's terrible. I love Don Knotts. I thought that he was a great actor, and he was a lot of fun, 1960s and 70s style actor. And then, but before you share, it's like, maybe I shouldn't do anything. Maybe I shouldn't respond to it. Let me just check. You click on the article, and the article comes up, and it was dated from like the same day, like June 30th, but like 2012. And you're like, oh, they're trying to be tricky. I hate people like that. That's one of the things that the internet sucks. Yes, the internet's good because I can converse with you over this thingamajagger here, YouTube, whatever. My headache's going away. That's why I'm feeling better. Or through Twitter, like what Patrick's been doing with me, and Scott does every once in a while when he's on, but he's not watching right now, which is cool. So I just lost. Bye, Pat. He's probably going to do the sci-fi designs thing. Is he out? Anyway, so in a roundabout way, I'm getting ready to talk about this. $28 for hot dog water. Now, bear with me here. There was a festival in Canada. Happy Canada Day tomorrow, July 1st, where somebody was selling hot dog water for $28. It was a bottle of water, had a hot dog in it, and had water in it. And it said hot dog water, and it said, there was somebody explaining the health benefits of it. It's going to help you lose weight and all this stuff, and it's going to make you feel better, and it's going to give you more stamina and stuff like that. And of course, I've discussed on other episodes of this show all the other weird shit that goes on in this world. So this, when I first saw the headline, I was like, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense. It's not surprising that somebody is selling hot dog water as a cure-all for your problems, because there are people who say drink your pee and you'll be okay. And I talked about that last week, so I'm not going to rehash it this week. But if you read the article, you actually discover that it was not real hot dog water being sold. It was a artistic display to encourage critical thinking about product marketing, which makes sense because a lot of people, not saying everybody will, but a lot of people will buy in on something if it's going to make their life better. So, if they see that, their life is in the toilet, they don't feel good or whatever, and then they see someone say, hey, you ever think about hot dog water? Or hot dog ice is another one I saw. They put boil your hot dogs in water, and then you take the water that was in that and you put an ice cube tray and you freeze that and you drink that stuff. It's supposed to make you more stamina worthy or make you feel better. And people are going to gleam on that and say, oh, wow, this is going to be great. And in a way, it's kind of a pseudo make you feel better. What's the word? Not a cure-all, but it was one of these. I can't think of the fancy word right now. But you drink it, and you all of a sudden, because you've tricked your mind into thinking, oh, it is making me feel better. Where most of your problems are psychosomatic. I mean, yeah, you might have some physical problems. That's and I'm not making excuses for that, but a lot of it also is if you're feeling run down or tired, or you feel like you need some sort of cure-all or whatever, and you gleam on one thing and you drink it, you're like, oh yeah, I feel better. It's because it's a placebo. That's the word I'm looking for. You're looking at it as like, it really doesn't do anything for you. It's all psychosomatic. And we're telling you it's going to make you feel better. So you drink it and you're like, you know what? I do feel better. You'd be surprised about how much marketing uses this type of thing for that. And this is what they did for this thing as well. So it's not real. $28 for hot dog water, which is a shame because I thought I'd be another thing to make fun of people in California about. But that's besides the point. So before I lose you again, Patrick, I know you're jumping in and out because of certain things. I'm going to talk about Harlan Ellison now, because you made a mention earlier in my the mentions about that. Harlan Ellison was, as I said earlier in the show, a science fiction writer who wrote a number of novels, which I have been guilty of never reading, despite the fact that I knew the man for about 3 years. Maybe not, as well as I should have, but he was one of my accounts. So I talked to him on a regular basis on the phone. And then he wrote the episode City at the Edge of Forever, I think is what it was, where they go back in time and Kirk falls in love with Joan Collins. And then he has to make that like Sophie's Choice where he falls in love with Joan Collins. But then he realizes that, you know, she's going to die. And if she doesn't die, the world's going to turn to shit or something like that. I got to rewatch that episode. I remember the episode. I have to rewatch it. But Harlan wrote that one. And Harlan has always had that thing that he was this grumpy old man. He was not as grumpy as Alan Moore. Alan Moore's just a dickhead. But Harlan, you could say some people would call him Alan Moore-ish, dickish style thing. He was more of like that grumpy old neighbor who always complains about stuff or is always trying to do things and is always kind of a dick about stuff. But in the end, he's not really as bad as, say, Alan Moore is. I never really had to deal with that aspect of Harlan. As I said, I talked to him at least once a month, maybe more, once or twice, but it wasn't really often that much. It was between like 2 to 5 times a month I talked to him. I think 5 might be a little high. It's like 2 to 3 times a month I would talk to him because he was a customer service rep, or he was my customer service account. Let me explain how that happened. Diamond Comics, where I worked from, 2002 to 2006, for the majority of those years, I was a customer service rep for the California store. So my day was 11 to 8, which if you go California time is 8 to 5. So I had to go in at 11 o'clock in the morning and stay till 8 o'clock at night, which kind of sucked. But the good news was Dawn and I were just living together when we started, and then we got married and we were still living together. We bought our house in 2004. By the time I left Diamond, it was a month before Noelle was born. Okay. Dawn's going to go Pokemon Go hunting. She wants to get that shiny Roselia. So, so it kind of worked out because Dawn at the time was also had a second job working at Barnes & Noble, just to make a little extra money on the side. So, you know, it was great. You know, I was actually, I would come home for lunch at around 5 o'clock. My apartment that I lived at was literally like 5 minutes away from work, and Dawn would be coming home from work. So I'd see her for a little bit, then I have to go back to work for a few hours. So it was kind of nice, and you know, it wasn't like 2 shifts passing the night because I was back home by 8:30. I mean, earlier for that, if we left at 8 o'clock, but when we moved to the house, it was a little bit longer. Regardless, I always do this. I'm sorry, Patrick. I'm gonna get to it right now, and everybody else out there. So I'm gonna get to it right now. So, so at Diamond, I serviced comic book stores out in my area was Los Angeles, Sacramento, Chico, California. There are a few other ones in there. And then I even had one for Washington State, and I had the whole state of Alaska, which was fantastic. And I've talked about this before. But my customers were comic book stores, physical comic book stores where you go and you buy your comic books. Harlan, however, was a friend of Steve Geppe's, who is the owner of Diamond Comics. And obviously, he was also Harlan Ellison. So obviously, he wanted to buy stuff from our previews magazine at the discounted price, like he was a store, because we do have nice discounts when it comes to our stores and stuff like that, which is why they do business with Diamond. So he wanted to have that same, service, but he wasn't selling the stuff. It was his stuff for himself. Now, he didn't order a lot of stuff, but he ordered some stuff. He ordered some crazy stuff. He ordered some of his own stuff, but that's besides the point. But so my basic was just to call him, and he would tell me what he wanted to buy. So basically, when he was ready to order for the month, I would call him up, and he would tell me what he wanted to order through previews, and I would put the order in for him. And then if there were any issues, if some came damaged or shorted or whatever, he would call me and say, "Hey, man, this is missing," stuff like that. So Harlan and I, as I said, we weren't like close friends, but we were acquaintances. He was one of my customer account reps that I talked to, as I said, on a monthly basis. So it's kind of sad to see him passed away, and not all that surprising since he was older. He was like in his 90s, I think, or late 80s, early 90s. So he was around I know, I hate to say it, was right around the time when most people are going to die anyway. So, he died peacefully, all that, and he will be missed. But, I don't really have any Harlan Ellison stories, but there were a ton of Harlan Ellison stories that were retweeted, that I retweeted over this week from people that I knew. Chris Riles, another one for IDW. I used to be their brand manager when I shifted up to brand management after my stint in customer service. So it was interesting to see that, stuff like that. So rest in peace, Harlan. Hopefully you're okay up there in heaven. So that's my Harlan Ellison story. Continuing on the downer part of the episode, Toys R Us is now officially closed. Now, I've been talking about Toys R Us closing since they first announced it, like last year, I think. And to be fair, it's one of these things where, yeah, it sucks because it's such an iconic store. And yeah, when I was younger, I used to go to Toys R Us all the time and buy my Star Wars action figures and my Transformers and my G.I. Joes because it was the place to go. We had one up in Towson near where I lived. And then there was KB Toys, but KB Toys was not nearly as good as Toys R Us. It didn't have the selection. It wasn't as big. Usually it was these small, compressed mall stores that only had a small aspect of stuff. And so Toys R Us was the place to go. And then when they expanded to Babies R Us, they became our friend also, and we started having babies. So, to be fair, I wasn't as big of a Toys R Us guy as a lot of other people were. I didn't go every week. I didn't buy stuff all the time. I would go occasionally to buy stuff. As I said, new Transformers, new G.I. Joes, new Star Wars figures, whatever. I was never into Legos, so I never really got Legos. So when I started having kids, they would go to Toys R Us. There was one right up the street from us at Owings Mills Boulevard and Reisterstown Road, which is about maybe a 10-minute drive from here, that we would go to for birthday presents for their friends or for them. But as always, I'll be the first to admit it, Amazon's a lot more convenient because you don't have to go into a car. You don't have to drive to this place. You don't have to get out of the car. You don't have to peruse the shelves. And then you grab it. You don't have to wait in line, which is one of the biggest problems I had with the Toys R Us near us here in Reisterstown. There was usually only like one or two open lanes, and there were lines out the wazoo for them. And they weren't getting people to cover them. That was it. Those were the two. So you just had to wait your turn. And then it was kind of messy. And, because, when you can't always follow kids that take off a G.I. Joe they like and say, actually I don't like it. And they just place it down somewhere else. And they walk away. Parents aren't going to put it back. They're not going to tell their kids to put it back because they want to get the heck out of there as quick as anybody other, as quick as everyone else wants to. So it was kind of messy. It was kind of disorganized. Another good example is I love Pops. Funko Pops are great. I love them. They had an okay selection of Funko Pops. But again, the way they were displayed, you really couldn't tell what they were because all you could see was the tops. You can see what the front ones were because you had, this is the Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. But then you go in the back, you're like, okay, that looks like a Doctor Who one, but I'm not exactly sure. So you have to dig back through that and you pull it out. It's like, oh, nope, it isn't. So they got to put it right back. So it just wasn't displayed properly, and it was a mess, and the lines were crazy. Amazon is so much easier. I'll admit that. And plus, Toys R Us might not have everything. So if you're looking for a specific toy, and Toys R Us doesn't have it, and Target doesn't have it, and Walmart doesn't have it, you go to Amazon and say, okay, I want the G.I. Joe, the Kung Fu Grip. And then, boom, there's like 50 of them from all these different, it's like, okay, you find the cheapest price, and the one's going to get there quicker. Okay, I'll take this one, bing. And I'm Prime member, so this one's Prime, so it'll come to me. I don't have to pay for any shipping. It'll be in there 2 days. Boom, you're done. You don't have to leave the comfort of your house or your office or whatever. While yes, it's kind of depressing because there are people at Toys R Us that they make a living there that way. Patrick said Toys R Us is the place that he took his nieces and nephews to spoil them. Absolutely. It's a great place to go. But nowadays, with technology, as I already discussed earlier in the show, it's not really necessary anymore because you'll be able to find what you want at a good price, and it gets shipped directly to your house within a couple days. Now, I've also said when it comes to like videos or DVDs or books, if I want to read it that day or I want to watch the movie that day, I would go to the store and I would buy it because I would get it that day. If I ordered it on Amazon, I have to wait a day or two, usually about 2 days because that's how long Prime shipping usually is, to get it. If I want to watch it that night, you just go to the store and you pick it up. So I kind of liked having the store there. But at the same time, I'm like, but it's more convenient just to do it from my house. And I don't have to go and fight the crowds and put miles on my car or whatever. Or deal with idiots who don't know how to drive or park or whatever. So it is a shame. I wouldn't call myself a Toys R Us kid. As I said, I did go to Toys R Us a lot. We had a nice one in Towson. But in the end, it's a business. Am I sad to see it go? Yeah, sure, I'm sad to see it go. It's an iconic store. And it's also, while you can call me a hypocrite about this, where I say it's easier to do stuff with Amazon, we are becoming too, I can't think of the word, on technology. We have to use technology all the time. Where your money is in the bank, you can get it through technology and stuff like that. Again, what if technology crashes? What are you going to do then? So my mind is a blank now. It's getting late. So that's my Toys R Us story as well. Let's straighten up a little bit. The electric slide is about a vibrator. You've seen the electric slide. Every wedding you've ever gone to, every birthday party, well, not every birthday party, but like every wedding you've gone to, a lot of big parties where you have a DJ and dancing and stuff like that. Eventually, the electric slide is going to get put in there. I don't like the electric slide because I don't like to dance. Is it fun to watch people doing the electric slide? Yeah, it can be. The main reason why is because my wife is badass line dancer, where she knows the electric slide and the cha-cha slide and all these, and she will get up there and she will make sure your asses are doing it right. And if your asses aren't doing it right, she's going to make sure your asses are doing it right. And it's nice watching her ass move it, but that's besides the point. Anyway, yeah, I agree with that, Patrick. Look, as I said, I sort of like it both. I like, going to the store and looking around and finding the product, but it's also more convenient just to get it through Amazon. Now, comics is another example as well. I go to my local comic book store and I buy my comics directly because I like the floppies. And I'm talking to the phone like I'm talking to Patrick. Patrick, I'm talking to you through the phone, even though I should be talking to you through here. But you can also get your comics through online stuff now. And I know a lot of people do that, and that's fine. They like to do that because there's also a plus to that. There's not as much clutter. I've got like 12 boxes of comics right here you can't see past here. And then I got more over there, and I got more back there, and I got more behind this wall right here. And I got more upstairs too. Having it digitally, you have it all compacted into your iPod or whatever. I agree with you, Patrick. I like to go to the store. As I said, I like to go there, but sometimes the convenience outweighs the going to the store and actually physically grabbing it. So getting back to my point about the electric slide. Now, it's always fun to see electric slide because at every dance and every wedding and stuff like that, you're going to do the electric slide, and you see people try to do it, and they have a fun time, and it's a lot of crazy stuff. But this week they announced that if you actually sat down and listened to the lyrics, which I've told you need to do sometimes, sometimes you just got to sit down and listen to the music and just hear the lyrics. Or sometimes if you're working and your mind is sort of wandering and you hear a song, listen to the lyrics and you start thinking, oh my God, I did not realize that before, because music gets into your head and just sort of swirls around there and is just sort of there. And you don't think about words. You're watching people dance, or you're working, or you are singing along, and you're not really thinking about the words because you're just thinking about the beat, the rhythm, whatever. But it's always fun to listen to the lyrics. I'm sorry, I thought I heard someone come down the steps because Dawn's out. Let's make sure that the kids are okay, because I have 3 kids now, but I'll tell you about that in a little bit. So I never actually sat down and listened to the Electric Slide. Whereas the Cha-Cha Slide is a little bit easier to understand because it's about the Cha-Cha Slide. If you listen to the song, the singer is exactly telling you how to do the dance. So it's like, you do this, you do that, you do that. Whereas the Electric Slide, I guess there is sort of some lyrics in there, which to be honest, I never really noticed before, because you notice the dance. But then you think about it, the name itself, the Electric Slide, Electric Slide, I better not get in here, I'm going to get in a little trouble. Needless to say, they say it's about a vibrator. I'm not going to disagree with that, because again, as I said, every once in a while, the lyrics pop into my head, and I'm like, holy God, has that lyric always been there? A good example is, I can't think of the song right now. Sorry, I'm gonna hit off of Twitter right now, Patrick. So just give me 1 second. There's a song that, since I've gotten this other job, I've been spending a lot more time at my desk, and I've got like 25 playlists. So if you ever want to hear any of my playlists, go to my YouTube page, which you probably, if you're not watching it live, you're probably watching it on there, and go to my playlist section, and you will see a whole lot of. Again, I keep hearing noises upstairs. They're just banging because they're just loud kids. Come on, where are you? Why Can't I by Liz Phair. Great song, love it. Let's see if I can get a little, just so to get you stupid ads again. But I have this song on a bunch of my playlists. I've been playing a lot of my playlists. I've been spending a lot more time on my computer because my job now is more computer based than it was moving around stuff. So I've been listening more to the beginning sequences. Here we go. 13 Going on 30 was where I originally first heard this song. It's a great song, and it's a really chipper, upbeat song about how it's about first love for the most part, where you run into somebody, you might be dating somebody right now, but you run into somebody new and you're immediately attracted to them and you want to start dating them and stuff like that. So you got to figure out a way to, get out of a relationship so you can, that's as one of the lines in the chorus is, the best part of breaking up is meeting someone new, something like that. And it makes sense because when you're starting over in a relationship, that's when everything is new, and literally this is the truth. You have sex all the time. You spend lots of time with each other. You do lots of physical activities. You go out on lots of dates and you give lots of presents back and forth, and you have lots and lots of sex. And that's the truth. And that's what, the opening salvo of a relationship is. And then gradually as the relationship expands or gets longer, it sort of evens out so that, everything is an even keel and stuff like that. But there's this line in that song which I never noticed until I was listening to it at work the other day. And there's a line where she's getting ready to lead into the chorus, and it's like, we haven't fucked yet, but my mind's still spinning. And I never had heard that word before. I'd heard the song a million times. Now, there are 2 versions. There's one where the word fucked is bleeped out. And I've heard that one, but I've also heard the unbleeped out one before, and it never clicked on me until just recently. And there's a line she says, we haven't fucked yet, but my head's still spinning. And that's just like, damn, where did that come from? Because the song is this chipper, upbeat, poppy song, which is totally different than what Liz Phair does, but it's still a great song. and used in a movie like 13 Going on 30. I have to watch that scene again to see if they actually used that section. I don't think they did. If the director was smart, they didn't. But that's what I'm saying. When it comes to a song, you're not sure exactly what it's about until you listen to it. Another good example is Super Freak by Rick James, which was one of my favorite songs when I was growing up. When I was a kid, like 6, 7, 8 years old, I had the 45, and I played it over and over and over and over again because it was so cool. But I never listened to the lyrics. I didn't care. And the fact is, when I got older and I listened to the lyrics, I was like, oh my God, how my parents let me listen to this song. This song is filled with sex and innuendo and stuff like that. And it's just like, this is inappropriate for a 6 or 7-year-old. My parents are just like, he likes it, so he doesn't know what's going on. It's true, I didn't. But now it's just like, damn, they let me listen to a song like that? Seriously? So is the electric slide about a vibrator? I think so. I think there was a Snopes article, I didn't read it, that said that might not be. But as of now, I'm sticking with that. Out of that conversation, it's time to have a little bit of James T. Kirk bourbon. No, I just have this kickstart. That's something new that just came out. James T. Kirk, obviously the fictional captain of the Star Trek Enterprise, the Starship Enterprise, excuse me, from Star Trek. Again, iconic character, William Shatner, and later played by Chris Pine also. But he's iconic, and he's got a name, and the town in Iowa where his fictional character was born has a big sign that says future birthplace of Captain James T. Kirk. So that's just kind of cool. Now there's James T. Kirk bourbon. It's like, okay, that makes sense. You know, I honestly don't remember Captain Kirk drinking a lot of alcohol, but hey, it's for the Trekkies. Why not? I'm a Trekkie, and I'm not using it as a term of disgrace because I'm a Star Trek fan all the time. I'm a Trekkie too. James T. Kirk bourbon, pretty cool. So that's kind of neat. Let's see. Oh, chicken nugget yoga. Again, I was like, is this an onion commercial? Is this an onion ad? No, it really is. There's chicken nugget yoga, where there's a yoga guy somewhere, probably California, who is teaching yoga and has chicken nuggets on here. And every time you are able to perform a yoga move, you can eat one of the chicken nuggets. It's supposed to be a reward or something like that. I didn't read the full article, but again, clickbait, whatever you want to call it. They had video that showed them doing it too. So chicken nugget yoga. I spent a bunch of time today looking for the Walmart comics. Now, I think I mentioned these last week, and I don't remember if I mentioned. I don't think I mentioned it on my Comic Haul show. And again, I will mention it again when MJ Khan and I hook up sometime in July to do an episode about comics. Maybe our Ant-Man review coming up soon. But DC Comics is teaming up with Walmart to release 400-page comics every month. No, monthly. So and they are Batman 100-page giant, Superman 100-page giant, Justice League 100-page giant, and Teen Titans 100-page giant. Now, what makes them different than other comics is that it's 100 pages and it's a collection of reprints and one new story, which is the overriding thing that us comic collectors need to do. We need to go and we need to get these new stories that have not been printed anywhere else except on these 100-page giants. It's a way to try to get more people to get into comics again, because yes, there are lots of comic book stores in the area, and every one of these books has a ad in the back that says, if you're interested in more comics, go to the Comic Shop Locator Service website to find a comic book store in your area. But a lot of people don't do that. Getting back to our vibrator conversation, Patrick says, hey, speaking of vibrators, you know where the band name Steely Dan was from? I would assume some kind of vibrator, I guess. Steely Dan. Yeah. Thanks for that, Patrick. It's always fun to have somebody watching and interacting with you. That goes for everybody out there who watches the show. Patrick, thank you. Scott, I know you got other stuff going on and you do it as well. You other guys out there who watch the show, come on, interact with me. Come watch it live. It's a lot of fun. See, we're having a great time. But it's a way to get more people that normally wouldn't, I guess, even consider going to a comic book store to get comics. A lot of people go to Walmart. I mean, when I went to Walmart, I went to 2 Walmarts today to try to find these. The first one was before I went into work, and there was only 2 lines open, and there were lines out the door. It's one of the super ones that has a grocery store with it as well. And I couldn't find it in that one because I wasn't too familiar with that one near my work. I've been there a few times, but not often like that. So I was getting kind of pissed, and I had to get to work anyway. And so I went to the one out in Hunt Valley, which I am used to, I've seen before, and I didn't find it right away. And as I'm getting ready to leave, I was like, wait, let me check one last area. And sure enough, it was right up there by the cash wrap, which is kind of not a great area because not a lot of people see it. I guess it's one of those things where you're in line and the kids are like, oh, mommy, or oh, daddy, look, comics, can we get some? I wish they had it displayed elsewhere in the store so people could see it there. So I don't know how successful it's going to be. Because I said I had to look hard to find it. And if I wasn't buying anything, I wouldn't be going to the cash wrap. He's like, well, they're not here, and I would never go back there again to check and see if they were there. But luckily, I know where they are now. And I wish I wish they would put it in the front or somewhere in the store so you can actually get it, like close to the books and magazines section would be nice. Hell, even put it by the toy section or the video section or the computer gaming section where they have superhero TV shows and movies and games and toys and stuff like that. That makes sense as well. But I got them. And I want to say there's 4 stories in it. 3 are reprints and 1 is a new story. And that's the main reason why I wanted to get it. Now, when I first heard they were doing this, I heard Brian Michael Bendis was going to be writing a Batman story for those, and Tom King was going to be writing Superman story for those. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I like both of them. And they're doing different characters than they're doing on DC now because it's reversed. Brian Michael Bendis is doing Superman, and Tom King's doing Batman. So I thought they were going to be in the first issue. So I got the first issue, and I brought them home, and I started reading them. And it's the new story is the first story, which is a good idea. You put that first. It's something new. Is the first story, and none of them, the Batman and the Superman one, were not written by either Brian Michael Bendis or Tom King. They're written by Jimmy Palmiotti, which I'm okay with because I like Jimmy's stuff. But I was expecting a Brian Michael Bendis or a Tom King story because I'd heard articles about that. Now, the articles that were discussing it discussed them. Now, to be fair, the 2 stories that Jimmy's writing are just 2-parters. So probably the 3rd issue is when Bendis and King's story arcs are going to happen, and they're probably going to be about the same number of chapters or whatever. I thought they said it was going to be 12 parts, and that's why I thought they were going to get it. It could still be 12 parts starting with issue number 3. So I'm going to have to go back and get those when they come out. Now they're $5 a piece, $4.99 if you want to be exact. But it's a good way to get people into comics that normally might not want to go to a comic book store. And I wish Marvel would do something like that too, because Marvel are the big heroes in the comic book movies right now. And so people who see these comic book movies want to get more about their comics. So hopefully they find the comic book stores, they're able to go to the comic book stores and they can get their Avengers fixes that way. But a lot of times they might not even know that there's such places because they're not big followers of the comic books physically. They like the movies. So the fact that DC is doing this is really good. So it had the first issues, the first brand new story arcs with new, and I like that. I like the teams. I mean, Jimmy Palmiotti's a great writer, so he wrote these 2. I like Patch Zurcher was one of the artists, and the other one was Tom Theranek, who I like as well. And then the Wonder Woman story was written by I forget who wrote the Wonder Woman story, but Rick Lenardi did the artwork, and that was great. And then the Teen Titan ones, I haven't read that one yet. It's written by somebody else also. I haven't read that. That's the only one of the 4 I haven't read yet. And then I read the reprints because I had read these issues before, and I didn't quite remember them. So the Batman one had a reprint of the first part of the Hush story, which lasted 12 issues and has Jim Lee artwork, which is nice looking. It also had, God, I'm trying to remember what else it had. It had that in there, and it had a Nightwing story because he is Batman's former partner Robin. And God, I just read it too. I forget what the other one is. Superman had the Superman Batman story in it, from Superman Batman #1, and I forget. And then the Justice League had Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash, and Aquaman. So some interesting, but they were all first issues of their previous series and stuff like that. So it's a good introduction if you've never seen these characters before. And you got your top writers, you got your Jeff Loebs and your Jeff Johns stories, and Jim Lee art, and your Ed McGuinness artwork and stuff like that. So the people that have, and Ivan Reyes, you've got the people who were the creative teams that were super for DC back in the New 52 time. You have those issues coming in there to get people's attention to come buy the comics. So definitely check them out if you want to. I still recommend going to your local comic book store because you have a wider variety of stuff to look at. And it's not just superheroes. There's comic books. There's all kinds of comic books about different types of things, believe it or not. But it is. There is. But this is a good entryway into comics, is if you go to the Walmart and you get these giant 100-page books, particularly during the summer. You're going on a car trip or a vacation and you're going to be flying or driving or whatever, or you're going to spend a week somewhere and your kids are going to be bored, they want to do something different. Stop by Walmart, pick these up, give it to them and say, hey, read this. And it's a really good idea because that's what I did. I read lots of comics on road trips and vacations, and then I graduated into reading novels while driving, so that when I got older. But it's always good to buy comic books before you go on the road. I think my aunt, or my wife's aunt I should say, was telling a story to me last time I saw her a couple weeks ago about how her dad, my wife's grandfather, would buy them each 3 comics because she's got a brother and a sister. Her other sister was my mother-in-law. But my wife's aunt was telling me the story that they would buy 6 comic books for the 3 of the kids. And so all 3 of them would get one. They would read it, then they'd switch them out, and then they'd read it, and then they'd switch them out again. They'd read the other one. And then, by the time they were coming back, they would reread them again and then just toss them or whatever. It was easy little Archies or Western, whatever. This is something similar you can do now, and it's a good way to get people into comics. So I'm highly recommending, if you have a Walmart near you, go to where the cash wrap is. And after you checked out or whatever, it's going to be, closer on those end caps, not when you're entering into the cash wrap, but once you've gone outside and you've already done it's going to be on one of those displays there. So look from there. Highly recommended because there's some good stuff out there. All right. I'm losing my voice here. Let's see, what should we do? Okay, tell you what, we'll do a big thing now because we're about an hour in, so this is the perfect time for my Incredibles 2 review. The Incredibles, the original Incredibles is one of my favorite Pixar movies of all time. I think when Jerry Fletcher and I did our top 10 Pixar movie list, I'm wondering if I had it around number one or 2, because there's really not many other Pixar movies that I love more than The Incredibles. And not only because it's about superheroes, but because it's about family, and it is a perfect storyline with a family that loves each other and acts like a real family. The Dash is the bratty younger brother, always irritating his older teenage sister. But when someone messes with his sister, he's going to protect her as best he can. And the parents are in love with each other, and that's great to see as well. And they love their kids as well. And just the way that Brad Bird directed it, and the animation style, and just an old school, sort of like a 1930s style animated movie, and just great storylines, good bad guys. Just a great story. The Incredibles was such a great story. So it took so long. It took so long to make the sequel because Brad Bird knew how great it was and knew how much people loved it, and he didn't want to wreck it. Plus, he had to come up with the best story. And I am pleased to say that I actually thought that they did a really good job with this movie. I can see some people's most people I've heard about this said they really liked The Incredibles 2. They say they wish there had been more focus on Dash because he didn't really get a lot to do in this because there was a lot of Jack scenes and more looking at the potential bad guys and stuff like that. So in the end, I enjoyed it immensely. My wife absolutely adored it, and the kids liked it pretty much too. I think my daughter really liked it. My son's an interesting case when it comes to movies. He's not really, I mean, we know he doesn't have ADD, but he's almost on that edge where he probably might have it, but it's very low, or it's not as, prevalent as we think it might be. Anyway, I like the story and the fact that it took place literally right after the end of the first one, with the Underminer coming back up and then the Incredibles joining forces to take them down, and that's where it ended. Well, now we find out what happened, and it didn't end quite so well for the Incredibles. Spoilers coming up. And the Underminer gets away. And then more stuff happens, and after all the good they did about saving the city, all of a sudden they're public enemy number one, so people are asking for their heads, stuff like that. So the company that's been protecting the heroes has finally been dissolved because of all this. So they only have like 2 weeks to get themselves straight, or they're dead, or they're done. Not dead, but they're done. So they have to find a job, and they have to do stuff like that. Luckily, there's a wealthy businessman, who loves the supers and wants to try to get them good PR, and is going to start small with Elastigirl. So they get Elastigirl to be the face of the franchise for the most part, to go out there and prove that heroes are needed and are worthwhile and are not always there to cause damage and mayhem. And they're going to film it all because, people just see really the aftermath of these battles and just see that, oh, they wrecked the whole town. Whereas now they're going to see, well, this is why they wrecked the whole town. They were trying to save these people. So the roles are then reversed, because in the first one, Mr. Incredible was the one that was hired to do a job and, covertly, while Elastigirl stayed home with the kids. Well, now it's reversed, where Elastigirl's out there doing the job of heroing, and Mr. Incredible has to stay at home with the kids. And the fact now is that Jack finally has revealed his powers. He's what we call a polymorph, which is someone who has multiple powers and will keep getting multiple powers and different powers as he gets older and he starts learning more about himself and what he can do and what he can't do. So the majority of the story about Mr. Incredible is him trying to come to grips with Jack. His daughter is going through her regular teenage angsty phase when the boy that she's going to go on that date with at the end of The Incredibles sees her be one of the Incredibles, and she doesn't know what to do like that. And so the Incredibles talk their guy who helps him out to go and mind wipe him, and he mind wipes everything about Violet, so that he doesn't even remember who she is. And that freaks her out because she's a teenager and hormones, and she likes him a lot, and he doesn't even recognize her. And so Mr. Incredible was the one who said, you need to do this. So he tries to make it right, and he just keeps making it worse. As I said, Dash doesn't really have much to do except sort of be the annoying little brother, and also, the jokes about math is math and schoolwork and stuff like that. And yes, I wish he would have had more to do also, but there was a lot going on in there. And then there's a compelling bad guy who uses hypnosis, which is really good too. And then the twist about who the bad guy is, which, to be honest, is not that much of a twist if you've read enough comics and seen enough stuff, and you can pretty much figure out who it is. I figured it out pretty early on. I told my wife, I was like, I bet you it's such and so. And then sure enough, when they revealed it, I was like, yep, I was right. I wasn't fully right because I thought it was more than one person, but it was just one person. So there's that. But again, and then Samuel L. Jackson's Frozone had a little bit more to do in this one, but again, not a big role. Wish she might have had a bigger role also. But again, you get to see more from him. And it's always fun to hear Samuel L. Jackson again, and particularly the scene where he sees Jack's powers. It's hilarious, his reactions to it. And then Edna's back, which is great, where she has to spend the night with the baby, with Jack to learn his power, so she can create a costume for him that will be able to work it out through all of his powers. So it's a really fun, interesting, exciting, very well done film. As expected, it absolutely is just as good as the original Incredibles, and is highly recommended you go out to see it. Now, I haven't seen Jurassic World 2 yet. I don't know if I'm going to see it in the movie theaters or not. Maybe down the line. We'll see. So that's my review of Incredibles 2. Highly recommended. Loved it a lot. And would probably put it up there in my top 5, top 6 Pixar movies. So definitely worthwhile. Let's see. We'll do this one. It's been sitting there for a while. Spider-Man 2. Tom Holland has come out and said the name of the new Spider-Man movie is going to be called Far From Home. Remember, the first one was called Spider-Man Homecoming, and this one's going to be called Spider-Man Far From Home. And that sort of jibes with what has been discussed before we find out what happens in Avengers Infinity War. But there was discussion that in the next Spider-Man movie, they wanted Spider-Man to go like on a European tour. And that is an interesting take because Spider-Man is so used to being in New York City with big buildings, stuff like that, to have him in like a small German town or Italy or something like that, and have to find his way around and figure out how to survive in that is an added bonus. So that's kind of cool when it comes to that, and it jives with what we've been told about it. The one thing I'm not that excited about is I'm excited about the bad guy, Mysterio. Mysterio is a great bad guy. But they got Jake Gyllenhaal to play Mysterio, and I was like, oh, God, I do not like Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor. And honestly, I think he's all wrong for Mysterio. Again, I will allow judgment. I'll watch the movie. I will see how it is. And I thought Michael Keaton was going to be bad as Batman when it was first announced. But then when I saw it, I was like, okay, he's good. He's great. So we'll see. I just don't like Jake Gyllenhaal. And to have him play Mysterio, which is one of the best bad guys that I've been dying to see in a Spider-Man movie, well, it sort of not ruins it for me, but is kind of cringeworthy, as it were. 3 trailers here that I want to talk about real quick. And then I got some more news, and I think I will end on the anniversary stuff and then the holiday stuff. So I think that works out good. I already talked about this. I don't need to do this anymore. Boom. So I don't really have a lot left to do, so that's good. All right. Let's see. I might be able to get this out before 2 hours, so fingers crossed. So I saw 3 trailers this week. 3 kind of completely different ones. And all of them really caught me by surprise because these were all movies I really did not know much about until I saw the trailers, and I was interested in them. First one we'll cover is The House with a Clock in the Walls. It's got Jack Black in it, and I swear I think it's Cate Blanchett, but I'm not 100% certain. I mean, I could look it up right now, but I'm not going to. But Jack Black has always been one of these actors that I've been sort of on. School of Rock's a good movie. Tropic Thunder, he's good in that. But then there have been some other times they're like, I don't know. And Kung Fu Panda, his voicing there was good. And then he did Goosebumps from a couple of years ago, which I really loved his R.L. Stine. I thought it was great, and I'm glad the sequel's coming out later this year or early next year. And I can't wait to see that because I really enjoyed their first Goosebumps, so it's good to see him coming back to Goosebumps. This is sort of has a sort of similar feel to his Goosebumps movie. The basic premise, from what I gathered from the trailer, and it's based apparently on a book, a children's book, I guess, or young adult book. It's kind of a weird-looking kid who wears like aviator goggles and stuff like that, is being sent to live with his uncle, who's played by Jack Black, who is this crazy-dressed, weird type of guy who lives in this big, creepy house, mansion-y type of thing. and the boy discovers that his uncle can do magic, and he wants to learn how to do magic, so he'll be taught how to do magic. And there's also the neighbor or caretaker, whatever, I think played by Cate Blanchett, who has this love-hate sort of relationship with Jack Black, or the thing that gets their motors running is they like to insult each other. But they seem to like each other immensely. The Holiday is another good one for Jack Black. I just thought of that. Anyway, so basically it looks like, okay, this kid's going to learn how to do magic, and they show him being bullied at school and using the magic to beat his bullies and stuff like that, which is a funny sequence. But then you get into the meat of the story, particularly the name of the story, the name of the movie, where the boy hears this clock, and Jack Black's like, yeah, there's a clock somewhere in this building, in this house. I've never really thought much about it, but then it starts to count down as if something's coming, and then before you know it, something comes and a horrific thing occurs, and they have to use their magic to take on this evil, otherworldly creature. It looks like a lot of fun. I think it comes out around Halloween anyway, so it might be a good movie to take the kids to, at least my daughter anyway, because I think she might like it a little bit more than my son, as I said, is when it comes to movies, so we'll see. So that was fun. So if you get a chance to check it out, the house with the clock in the walls was a really neat trailer. The next one is, we'll go genres back up. Summer of '84. I've never been a real big horror fan. Those of you who watched my show know this, but this looks kind of interesting. The Summer of '84 looks like a movie, almost like a Stranger Things meets Friday the 13th type of movie. It's a horror movie that takes place in 1984, so like a Stranger Things vibe to it. You've got the clothing and the music and the pop culture references, and even kind of that, glazed out film look that Stranger Things does as well, to give it sort of that grainy old 1980s type of thing. And it appears to be like a rehash of what these 1980s horror films like the Friday the 13th, Nightmare Before Elm Streets, and the Halloweens, the multiple sequels you had, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, stuff like that, that were prevalent and huge in the 1980s. It seems to be sort of a throwback to that. And so in this case, it's about a young boy and his friends who discover that there is a serial killer in their neighborhood, and he kills children, and they're trying to figure out who the killer is, and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. But it's got some creepy moments and violent moments, but then it's also got this real Stranger Things vibe going on. So will I see in the movie theater? Probably not, but it's worth a look just to see the trailer, to see if it's something that you might be interested in watching and checking out. So definitely make it, keep an eye on it, and who knows, maybe it'll be pretty good. Finally, this one is totally different than the last two I talked about, and again, it sort of caught me by surprise. It's called Juliet Naked, and it stars Rose Byrne and Ethan Hawke. I've always liked Ethan Hawke, except for his role in Reality Bites. I thought he was a dick in that one. But I loved him in Gattaca, and I've loved him in the Before movies and stuff like that. So I saw this trailer, and I saw him in it, and Rose Byrne is a hottie, so I wanted to see what they were planning on doing. So after watching this trailer, it looks to be, it's like a romantic comedy drama type thing that looks like a combination of the Before Sunrise films and Notting Hill. Now, if you've seen both those movies, you get a general idea of what the movie seems to be about. And I'll give you the description in a second. If you've never seen either of those movies, first of all, go see those movies. Notting Hill's great. Hugh Grant, Julia Roberts, Rhys Ifans, great movie. Alec Baldwin has a really neat cameo in it. It really is a cameo. He's only in it for a little bit. And then you've got the Before movies, which I absolutely adore. Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. Before Midnight is not my favorite. It's good because I love Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke and their characters. It's fun to watch their characters progress. Before Sunset is still my favorite. Before Sunrise is my second favorite. So those are more movies. No, I had never seen that one. Patrick Smith says one of the best movies you have never seen with Jack Black in it is Jesus' Son. Has Jack Black and Billy Crudup in it. I'd like to check that out because I like Billy Crudup from Big Fish, so I'll have to check that out. So I'll look that up. I'm going to favorite that right now, Patrick. Boom. Keep that in mind. So thanks for mentioning that. I'd never heard of that one before. But Before Sunrises and Before Sunset is just about a couple that walks around and has discussions. So I'm looking at this trailer and I was like, it looks like a combo of these two, not just because Ethan Hawke's in it, but because there's a sequence where he's walking around with Rose Byrne, they're having a discussion. But then you also have the Notting Hill aspect because Ethan Hawke plays a musician who hasn't released an album in a really long time, and he finally releases a new one. And Rose Byrne plays a character whose boyfriend is obsessed with the Ethan Hawke musician. I mean, we're talking obsessed. His basement is filled with memorabilia to this guy, and this sort of affects his relationship with Rose Byrne's character. So Rose Byrne, decides to just make up a fake review of it, saying that this new album of her boyfriend's favorite musician sucks monkey balls for the most part, is what she writes. And it sort of causes tension between the two of them. But Ethan Hawke's character reads this and finds it intriguing and comes and meets with her. And eventually, before you know it, he falls in love with her. And so they get to know each other and stuff like that. So so basically you have the famous person falls in love with a normal person that was Notting Hill, and they go around and they talk about stuff in this case it's England, in a foreign country. So you get kind of that Before Sunrise, Notting Hill sort of vibe to it, but it still looks interesting. And Ethan Hawke and Rose Byrne should be a fun movie. And it's in England, so you got Rose Byrne's sexy British accent, so you get kind of a good thing about that. So that's Juliet Naked. I don't know when that's coming out, but soon. Probably later this year. All right, I'll flip back to this when I get to that. Now, let's just bang through a few of these. I was mentioned before, I have 3 kids today. Noah has had quite the week. Beginning of the week, Monday, Noelle was sick to her stomach, so we kept her home from camp, and Dawn stayed home with her. And then Tuesday, and then Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday he cut his, no, I think it was Friday he might have cut his toe. So then Wednesday, no, it was Tuesday, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get a minute. Tuesday, he gets a splinter in his foot at camp. They somehow walking on a wood bench or something like that, and he slipped or whatever, and it was a big one. I mean, it was about this big, and it was sharp, and it was deep. And we can't keep that in the foot because it was hurting him a little bit whenever he walked, so like that. So Dawn and I on on Tuesday night, we tried to dig it out. If you've ever had a splinter and it's fairly deep, digging out's not a lot of fun. I screamed bloody murder, and my parents had to hold me down, or my sister and my dad had to hold me down as my mom dug a splinter out of my foot when I was younger. Noah was no different. He was screaming and yelling in pain, and I hate seeing my kids in pain. And it was pain that we were causing because we were trying to get this thing out of him, and it just wasn't coming out. We spent an hour and a half on it. We tried a bunch of different things, and it wasn't coming out. So we decided, and by then it was like 10 o'clock. He was screaming that he was tired because he'd been through an ordeal. We were tired because it's been a rough day and rough night trying to do this, and hearing our child scream in agony, almost like we were torturing him, which I hate torture as it is anyway. So we decided on Wednesday, I would take off Wednesday, and we would take him to the express care place up here and get a doctor to physically do it. They might have more anesthetic or whatever that we do not have access to that will make it easier for them to get it out. So we went to that on Wednesday, and 20 minutes it was out and he was fine, and he stayed home the rest of the day and stayed off his feet, and then he went to camp on Thursday and Friday. So he's fine now. We took a look at it. It looks good. It's healed up enough now, I think, that we don't need to put a bandage on it anymore. They said keep a bandage on it until it was cleaned up. So he had that ordeal. So tonight we allowed his friend, I'm not going to say his friend, I can't say his name because I don't want to. I say my kid's name because I say him, but his friend came over to spend the night. So he's been here since like 1 o'clock. So they've been together for a really long time. So it sounds quiet. So they might have gone to sleep by now, which is good. I say that and I thought I heard some noise upstairs. Oh, well. Anyway, so this is really like his first sleepover ever. He's never really had a sleepover before. And he's never really gone over somebody's house to sleep over to. So this is kind of interesting and kind of neat. So good on that. My daughter's had a number of them. And speaking of that, she had one Friday into Saturday. A friend of hers was having a pool party / sleepover because she has a pool at her house. So that was a big thing. So my daughter, it's always fun with sleepovers because the last time my daughter had a sleepover at our house, her and her friend didn't go to bed till like 5 in the morning. Dawn's back, so that's good. And so she was miserable that day. So last night they probably stayed up till about 2 or 3, and then when she came back, she fell asleep upstairs and got some winks in. So that's good. So we've got that going on right now. So that was going on with that. There's people who are trying to get Percy Jackson to go to Netflix. Now, Netflix now, or Amazon or Hulu are now the place you want to go to try to get books or series or remakes of movies and stuff like that to series, because Netflix does a good job, Amazon does good, Hulu does a good job. And so now the fans of the Percy Jackson series, which is a shame because the Percy Jackson movie could have been great because Chris Columbus, who did the first 2 Harry Potter movies, directed the first Percy Jackson movie. It was just the writer who wrote the adaptation was awful, and the casting was a little off kilter, and it just wasn't a great movie. They got a couple movies out of it, but they were not that great. And it'd be great to have like a Netflix series that would do all the movies, all the books as a TV series. So, will that happen? Probably not, but it was nice to keep that in there. Mexican fans of their World Cup team were in, I guess, South Korea, where their Mexican team was playing in the World Cup against somebody, I don't know. They won their match. So the fans who were there went to the embassy from Mexico that's in South Korea, and they went in there and got the Mexican ambassador to do shots of tequila with them. I think that's just a really awesome story, and it's funny and it's interesting. Sticking with politics, bipartisan bill is trying to make Puerto Rico be the 51st state. It's about freaking time. I hope it passes this time. I'd like to see that become a state. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing Washington, D.C. become their own state also, to be honest. And I'm not a big fan of California dividing into 3 states. I understand why they're doing it, and I don't like it. But if that happens as well. But first and foremost, I'd like to see Puerto Rico become the 51st state, and possibly maybe D.C. become a state as well eventually. So I think we've had 50 states enough. We need to get a little bit more, and maybe we can vote out some of these assholes. That's besides the point, though. So we did that as well. Disney has created robot stunt doubles, which are, I guess, while taking away jobs from real stunt doubles, it'll also make things safer, and they can perform more risky stunts. I guess with robots, you either can computer generate to make it look like the actor. I don't know exactly how it works, but the fact is they do have these out now, and that's kind of interesting. What was I going to talk about? Felicia Day, one of my favorite people. I tried to get her onto my 100th show, and I got a really nice rejection letter from her people. So actually, I reached out to her people, and I actually got a response from them. So I thought that was great. I've always loved Felicia Day. There's something about her. I just really think she was really, really cool, and she's really seems to be really caring because it was her birthday earlier this week. Happy birthday to you, Felicia. And today she was doing a fundraiser for the Keep the Families Together movement, which is, not separating the Mexican families from their children, which is a horrific ordeal happening down at the border right now due to our stupid administration. Again, not going to go there anymore. But she's raised a bunch of money for this already. I think $130,000 already for it, and she might still be working on it right now. So good on her for putting her money where her mouth is, type of thing. So she's working to do it real well. Joe Jackson died, Michael Jackson's father, and father of the Jackson 5 and Janet and the other female Jackson. I can't remember her name. God, I'm a terrible person. It's always sad, I guess, when somebody dies, but Joe Jackson was kind of an abusive guy when he was younger. Was also one of these superstar parent things where his kids were musicians and he forced them to do things that they might not have wanted to do because they had the talent and making the money and stuff like that. So it's a shame, but at the same time, just like, you should have been a better person, man. But that's besides the point. I don't know much about him. I'm just know from what I read. So Joe Jackson passed away this week as well. I just brought this up because this was weird. It's a movie that I've never heard of before, and I saw the title, and I was like, wow, this is actually kind of a title. Vermont has to go as a state. You don't like Vermont? That's funny. The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. That seems like a type of movie that the Snark Alex should watch sometime and snark on it. I saw it and I was like, that title alone is awesome. And I'd like to see The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. It's up there with Santa Shark, which I think is coming out for Shark Week later on in August. So I just thought that was interesting. And I want to know more about it. But I don't know that much about it. But The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. Great title. I don't know, we can start with this and then lead into more sex. Okay. Batman and Catwoman, I've talked about this before, in the comic books, are going to be hopefully getting married on Wednesday, July 4th. Issue 50 of Batman, Tom King has been writing a phenomenal run of Batman, and he's been leading to this wedding since like issue 25. So it's awesome, and I'm excited for it. At the same day, Catwoman #1 comes out, so it's going to be sort of a companion piece as well. I'm hoping they stay together as a married couple. The thing is, it's not Bruce Wayne marrying Selena Kyle, it's Batman marrying Catwoman, so it's kind of a different take on it. I can't wait to see it. It's a double-sized issue, multiple artists on it, and it's going to lead into the next thing. And then Joelle Jones's Catwoman series looks phenomenal. So I'm definitely going to get those. I'm definitely going to go to the comic book store before I go to my my relative's house on 4th of July, because Captain America #1 comes out on that day. Of course it does. And also Justice League 3 comes out with the introduction of a new lantern. This is the Blue Lantern, but there's going to be an ultraviolet lantern. So now I got to get an ultraviolet ring and an ultraviolet t-shirt, lantern ring, shirt. So some good stuff coming up on comic books this week. But Batman and Catwoman are getting married in 4 days. 1st, 2nd, 30th to the 1st, 1st to the 2nd, 2nd to the 3rd, 3rd to the 4th. Yep, 4 days. And I cannot wait to read the story and and hopefully cross my fingers and hope that they stay married, because I think it's the way Tom King has been setting it up has been phenomenal. And Joelle Jones is just amazing. She's been filling in periodically for episodes that focused on Catwoman during the Batman run, including the one where she got her wedding dress, which was a great story, because she might be marrying Batman, but she can't take the criminal out of the criminal, and she ends up stealing the wedding dress she wants to wear. She breaks into the wedding gown place at like midnight when nobody is there, and spends like 5 hours going through all the wedding gowns. She finds the perfect one for her, and then leaves in a complete mess. I think it's funny as hell, and that's great. That way it'll lead to sex. Sex studies confirm men with big bellies are better in bed. Yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. I got the big belly here. I'm better in bed then, right? Damn, I'm fat. But that's good. You can't really see it too much, right? You know, because where the cutoff is, you can't see it. But there's a big jiggle of fat here. But now that they say that, sex studies confirm men with big bellies are better in bed. All right. Score. And then finally, one of my least favorite people, Tom Brady, has announced that confirms that he's a man who likes to eat ass, and file that into something that I really did not want to know about or care about. Or now you have this picture of him eating out Giselle's ass. I don't know. I just brought it up because I don't like Tom Brady, and that just sounds like such a Tom Brady thing to say. So that's enough for sex. One last little story here before we do my last two sections, and then we're out of here. Last week I talked about the guys who are trying to raise money to remake The Last Jedi, and I went on this whole tangent that Patrick and Scott both applauded and said, yeah, good job, stick it to them, because it's a stupid story, stupid idea. Well, now the same group of people has sent out a declaration of rebellion against Lucasfilms and Disney. They literally wrote something like the Declaration of Independence, saying that you need to make Star Wars better, and this is how you do it. And it's just like, God damn it, people. Just shut the hell up. And again, I feel like I'm a geek, and I'm proud to be a geek and a nerd and a Star Wars fan and a Star Trek fan, a comic book fan. And I'm proud to be one of these type of people that likes to dress up and discuss it and stuff like that. But even now, I'm getting into the William Shatner from Saturday Night Live saying, get a life, people. Get a freaking life. This is ridiculous that you keep pressing on this. It's a movie series. Yes, I'm glad you are so enamored of it that you think that you can fix it. But you know what? I think it's fine the way it is. Yes, there were some issues with the prequels, but you know what? You're stuck with what you got. You're stuck with what you got, and that's the end of the story. So now we're just going to do holidays, and then actually we'll do the what came out this week, and then we'll do the holidays, and then we're going to get out of here. So it might make it to about 2 hours as usual, which is what I like to do. So here we go. Coming out this week in movie theaters, or what came out this week in movie theaters. A good wide variety of stuff. Some Bill Murray things, an animated movie everybody loves. And, okay, we'll actually kick it off with the book series instead of a movie. The Harry Potter book series is 21 years of age as of 6/25. June 25th was when, 21 years ago, was when Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was first released out in bookstores. So it's been 21 years since Harry Potter first came out. God, that makes me feel old. 21 years. I mean, is that even right? 1808, 98, 97. Yes, it is absolutely right. 1997 was 21 years ago. Good God. I am so freaking old. So, good on that. The Lion King is 24 years old. It came out this week, 24 years ago. I like The Lion King. I like the Elton John music. I like the storylines, very Shakespearean. I like the characters. I like the voice actors. So I'm all in on Lion King. That's a good one. You got James Earl Jones in that one. We got another James Earl Jones story here. Coming to America is 30 years old this week. Coming to America is actually like the first Black Panther movie. It's everything but Eddie Murphy putting on a Black Panther costume and going out and doing crime, because it's a small African country that doesn't exist, Zamunda, about an African prince who wants to find his wife in America. Granted, I know that Black Panther didn't do that, but it's a very big Black Panther vibe when you watch it now. But the thing is, it came before Black Panther. You see Eddie Murphy doing backflips through the air and beating up Samuel L. Jackson, who wasn't in Black Panther, which is a shame, but he should have been. He beats up Samuel L. Jackson, and Arsenio Hall is in it, and James Earl Jones, who I said was the voice in Lion King, was also in it as the king, and John Amos, and just a great cast was in it, and Eddie and Arsenio Hall both doing multiple characters is hilarious, and they've got that African accent that when you hear it now, you're just like, that's where Wakanda got their accent from. So good on that. Coming to America is a great movie. I haven't watched it in a while. I really should, because it is a phenomenal movie. 31 years ago, Spaceballs, the movie, came out, and I wish we had Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. There was rumors that was going to be coming out soon. I mean, Mel Brooks had his birthday this week as well. He's in his mid-90s, and he's still going strong, early 90s, like 91 or something like that. He's going strong, but I want to see a sequel to Spaceballs now, using all the stuff that happened in the prequels and in the new stuff as well, and see how things go, and get Daphne Zuniga and Bill Pullman back. I know we can't get John Candy back. I know we can't get Joan Rivers back, but at least we can maybe get some variations on them in some form or another. Like maybe Barf's son, Puke, or something like that. I don't know. But I want to see Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. I want that to be, I want Mel to do it before he dies, and I hate to say that, but Mel's going to die soon. And he's in his 90s. I mean, he still looks healthy, but he's still in his 90s. So come on, Mel. You know you want to do it. Do it. 39 years ago was Meatballs. It was Bill Murray's first film up there, or was Caddyshack? I think Caddyshack was his first movie role, but then Meatballs was the one that sort of cemented him as being a good comedic actor. One of my wife's favorite movies, and so it's a perfect summer movie as well. Summer camp, camp counselor, the losers take on the winners and they win somehow, that type of thing. Also, in that same vein, 36 years ago, Stripes came out, which is another one of my wife's favorite movies, and another Bill Murray film that also has Harold Ramis in it, and John Larroquette and John Candy and Judge Reinhold, and a whole bunch of really good actors in that as well. Great movie, hilarious, wonderfully funny, fantastic, and again, kept Bill Murray's streak going. Fantastic. Labyrinth came out 32 years ago. Stardust would love that. Heather would love that. She loves herself some David Bowie, and I love myself from Jennifer Connelly. So, yeah, and it's good. Get a little Jim Henson in there as well, and you get a nice little collection of movies. It's one of those movies I need to revisit also. I haven't seen it in a while. Maybe someday we'll have to make a date with Heather for all of us to watch it together, so that would be kind of cool. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is 29 years old. Rick Moranis, wonderful job. I think Matt Frewer was his neighbor, and just a great eccentric performance from Rick Moranis, where he pretty much was the lead in the movie. And granted, the kids were a part of it, but he shrinks his kids, and the kids have an adventure like Ant-Man, and Ant-Man's coming out on July 6th, so hey, why not check that out as well? But it's a fun little movie. They made a sequel, Honey, I Blew Up the Baby, which is an interesting one as well, but not nearly as good as Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Also 29 years ago was Do the Right Thing, another summer type film, but in a different way. It's more of a dramatic, racism-fueled social movie about one extraordinarily hot day in New York City where the town just erupts into racial violence and stuff like that. It's one of Spike Lee's better films, and is extraordinarily polarizing. On the other spectrum, we've got Pootie Tang is 17 years old. I just caught that film once on cable, and I was laughing my ass off because Pootie Tang's such a stupid movie, and it just the idea that Pootie Tang is this hero, he's a superhero who beats up bad guys. He's also a recording artist, and his music is basically him going, and you don't hear anything. And then there's just the funny scene where they're playing his song on the radio, and you don't hear anything. But meanwhile, there's this little boy going, that type of thing to the music. It's hilarious. And then he goes and he fights bad guys on the side. But and he got the Pootie Tang. He got his own little language also. It's kind of funny. Pootie Tang is interesting. The Nutty Professor is 22 years old. Eddie Murphy remake. I should have added that to the Coming to America aspect of it. It's a vicious movie. I'm not sure it's one of these that I'd like to revisit, but it's got a beautiful Jada Pinkett Smith in it, and she and Eddie Murphy playing multiple characters, and kind of a more farty joke, scatological joke sort of thing. And you get Slick Willie Eddie Murphy when he's buddy love, and then you get wholesome, happy, loving Professor Clump type of thing. So let's see. It was okay. And finally, the oldest movie that came out this week, 47 years ago, and absolutely one of my favorite movies of all time, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Gene Wilder, amazing performance, one of the best performances of his career. And unfortunately, when he passed away and they did his in memoriam, they didn't use the scene that I think would be the perfect in memoriam for him, which is him singing one of the songs in Willy Wonka, Paradise. If you view paradise, before you view it. And it's a wonderful pan shot of him standing up, and you see these windows at the top, and you see the rest of his candy thing behind him, and it's a spin shot. It's just a wonderful, would have been a great tribute to him. But you know, they did a pretty good tribute to him. But unfortunately, that scene did not go in. If I was in charge of it, I would put that scene in there. But Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory came out 47 years ago. And that is your movies that came out this week. More to come. Now I'm going to get out of Twitter. I mean, Patrick Smith left me a while ago because I think he's got other stuff he's got to do, which is fine. Thank you for watching, Patrick. But now my Twitter's frozen. Which stinks because I need to get into it. Here we go. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do my Check Eye Day, and then we're going to be out of here. So what is Check Eye Day? For those who haven't watched this show before, every day is literally a holiday. There's a holiday literally every day of the year. They might not be ones famous like Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, 4th of July, that's just only an American holiday. I understand that. Canada Day, Canadian Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, stuff like that. But there is a holiday every day of the year. And they're not always there. Some of them are totally crazy. And some are like, okay, this is kind of cool. You have a special day to celebrate something like this. So here's what we had for today, June 30th. Social Media Day. Okay. National Organization for Women Day. National Outfit of the Day Day, OOTD Day. National Meteor Day, which is funny that before I got in here, there was an article that they discovered 2 meteors in India that had crash landed on there. National Celebrate Your Marriage Day. I know how I want to celebrate my marriage. It's not going to happen, but I can dream. International Asteroid Day. Great American Picnic Day. Well, not today. It was freaking 96 degrees. Not tomorrow. It's going to be 97 degrees. Bartender and Mixologist Day. So go and thank your bartender. That was all for today. Yesterday, the 29th, was Drive Your Corvette to Work Day. What? I don't have a Corvette. Feast of Saints Peter and Paul. Hug Holiday Day. Hug Holiday Day was June 29th. National Almond Butter Crunch Day. National Camera Day. National Food Truck Day. National Waffle Iron Day. World Scleroderma Awareness Day. These are all yesterday, June 29th. June 28th, we had Insurance Awareness Day, International Body Piercing Day. International Caps Lock Day, National Bomb Pop Day, National Handshake Day, National Tapioca Day. Paul Bunyan Day was on June 28th. Towel Day was June 28th. Also 27th real quick. June 27th was Happy Birthday to You Day, Decide to Be Married Day, Helen Keller Day, Industrial Workers of the World Day, International Ragweed Day, National HIV Testing Day, National Indian Pudding Day, National Orange Blossom Day, National Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Day, and Sunglasses Day was June 27th. Now, what do we have June 1st, or July 1st, I should say, tomorrow? Tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow is just Zip Code Day and U.S. Postage Stamp Day and second half of the New Year Day, because that's right, because 6 months are done. We got 6 more months to go. 6 more months to New Year's. National Television Heritage Day, National Postal Workers Day, National Ginger Snap Day, National Financial Freedom Day, National Creative Ice Cream Flavor Day, National Build a Scarecrow Day, International Joke Day is tomorrow, July 1st. International Chicken Wing Day is July 1st. And Early Bird Day is July 1st. Devotion to Duty Day, Canada Day, obviously. Blink 182 Day. Oh, sweet. And American Zoo Day is it for July 1st. So that's it. Okay, so that being said, it is time to end this episode, but because tomorrow is Blink 182 Day, let me see if I can find their specific song that I like. I like that one, but there's another one. Where's the other one? Ah, there it is. So we're going to end the episode on Blink 182's What's My Age Again. Tomorrow is Blink 182 Day. See you guys later. 4th of July episode coming up next in a few days.